Welcome to the Big Book Roundtable in the RICO 12 family of recovery resources targeted at people from all backgrounds, faiths, and places dealing with addictions and afflictions of all varieties. RICO 12 is also a resource for the loved ones of addicts. I'm Justin B., a child of an all-powerful and all-loving God and a multidisciplinary addict living in miraculous recovery, and I'm blessed to be the moderator of this roundtable, and I'm excited to be back around this table after a couple of weeks apart with David G. and Nikki M. The three of us are striving to live the miracle of recovery one day at a time, and I'm excited to work with them. Let's have David and Nikki each introduce themselves really quick. David, you first, and then Nikki.
All right. Thank you, Justin, for your service. As always, Nikki, so good to see you. It's been a minute. We've had a siesta here, but I am David G. I'm from Oklahoma. I'm an alcoholic addict of many sorts, and just like Justin said, living in the miracles of recovery one day at a time, and really blessed to be here today. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki M., and I'm a grateful member to be part of this fellowship and back at this round table with really two of my favorite humans who sharpen me weekly when we do this. We were on a little hiatus. I was in Istanbul for 7 days. I mean, when I say miracles, you guys, miracles, and I just can't wait for more to develop over the course of this experience with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Nikki. And once again, I'm just grateful to be connected with both of you in such a really cool project we have going here with the Big Book Roundtable. We're going line by line through the Big Book, diving deep into different sections as we go through the Big Book. And today we find ourselves in the third section that we're recording in the chapter Into Action. We're going to be reading starting on page 74 of the fourth edition of the Big Book, middle of the page, if we cannot or would rather not do this, through about the middle of the page on page 75, with the paragraph that ends walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. So we've got a full page of reading, a full page of deep dive to do here. So buckle up, let's get into this and get your highlighter, pens, markers ready to go. Here we go with that reading. If we cannot or would rather not do this, we search our acquaintance for a close-mouthed, understanding friend. Perhaps our doctor or psychologist will be the person. It may be one of our own family, but we cannot disclose anything to our wives or our parents which will hurt them and make them unhappy. We have no right to save our own skin at another person's expense. Such parts of our story we tell to someone who will understand, yet be unaffected. The rule is we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. Notwithstanding the great necessity for discussing ourselves with someone, it may be one who is so situated that there is no suitable person available. If that is so, this step may be postponed. Only, however, if we hold ourselves in complete readiness to go through with it at the first opportunity. We say this because we are very anxious that we talk to the right person. It is important that he be able to keep a confidence, that he fully understand and approve what we're driving at, that he will not try to change our plan, but we must not use this as a mere excuse to postpone. When we decide who is to hear our story, we waste no time. We have a written inventory and we are prepared for a long talk. We explain to our partner that what we are about to do and why we have to do it. He should realize that we are engaged upon a life and death errand. Most people approached in this way will be glad to help. They will be honored by our confidence. We pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. All right, there's that reading, and there's a lot of good stuff in there, and a lot of things that I think we can look at from maybe a different perspective with the idea of how sponsorship works. But let's get into this and see where it goes. David, why don't you lead us off and talk to us and take us through it and share with us some of the insights you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you so much for your service here, Justin. And this is such a powerful part of the book. If we have done the work as it's outlined in our book up to this point, we've already begun to have a change of heart and mind, our book tells us. Now, it's going to be a little more difficult to, voice this. I always say we really don't ever see the truth until it comes off of a pen in our hand, guided by the Spirit. We really don't hear it until it comes out of our mouth to another person. And this is an ancient old tradition. This isn't something new that Alcoholics Anonymous came up with. I don't know if you read the Holy Scriptures, but if you read the book of James, this is exactly where that came from. This was just carried over in language that we can understand. But Justin started out reading, if we cannot or would rather not do this. Now, for most of us, it's the latter of that sentence. It's not that we can't, it's that we won't, or I want to try to hold on to some things I don't really want anyone to know. I'm afraid that I'll go to jail. I'm afraid that someone will find out. I don't really completely trust you yet, maybe. Whatever the case may be, as long as I hold on to those secrets, I'm never going to be able to get well. I'm just not. I know. I did it for years. We search our acquaintance. Now, we've talked about in some of the previous episodes, looking at how this man is qualified that I'm going to talk with. Obviously, my first thought would be, hey, I'm going to do this with a sponsor. But there may be times throughout your experience that you're not able to do that, or maybe there's some things you're not comfortable with telling him. That's okay. Don't think just because he's your sponsor, you have to do this. Here's one of those qualifications. He needs to be a closed mouth, understanding friend. I don't need him talking the whole time that I'm doing this fifth step. I need to be the one sharing here. If he has something that he wants to relate back to me, cool, let's stop, take a minute to do it. But don't talk all the way through this. I need your mouth to be closed. I need you to understand what I'm doing. Perhaps a doctor or psychologist, for me, that's not really a good choice. And in the 30s and 40s and 50s or whatever that may have been. But today, there's a lot of good people more than qualified to do this. It may be one of our own family. For me, that's definitely not going to happen because I have hurt so many people, and especially directly in my family. So those are out. For me, those are not qualifications of a man that's going to hear this. It says here, don't disclose anything to your wife or parents which will hurt them and make them unhappy. A lot of people in the listening audience may have had therapists that told them they needed to do a disclosure letter and read and surprise the hell out of their wife in front of, or their husband in front of them. Trust me when I tell you, and if you don't trust what I tell you, read what we just read. Don't do that. You're bringing more harm to somebody that does not need to be there. And for me, that's just not cool. And I do not agree with that at all. So don't disclose anything that'll hurt them or make them unhappy, because we have no right to save our own ass at someone else's expense. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, is get the guilt off of me. And now let's work through it together, the pain. No, my sponsor told me there's some things you're going to get to live with, David. Live with it. Man, that hurt. So look at this next two words, such parts. Zone in on that word parts. There's parts of my story that I'm going to tell someone who understand and yet be unaffected. There's other parts of that story that I can tell, and it's okay. But there's parts of that I really, really need to talk with somebody who can understand, yet be unaffected. They say there are no rules in this program. Here's one. We're going to be hard on us and considerate of others. For me, it's always the other way around. I want justice for you and mercy for me. That's what I want, but that's not the way it is. So notwithstanding the great necessity for discussing ourselves, not someone else, guys that sit down in the fifth step with me and begin to talk about the other person, I shut them down right then. I'm like, we're not here to talk about them. I won't hear about you. And so I don't care what they did, what you do. And that's exactly how it was done for me. It may be so situated there's no suitable person available. Well, if you go to very many meetings and you know very many people, there's going to be some suitable people available. That's the only reason that the step can be postponed. If you hold yourself in complete readiness to go through with it at the first opportunity. We say this because we're very anxious to talk to. And here's another qualification of the man, the right person. Here's another qualification. It's important that he be able to keep a confidence. Man, that's got to be. And here's another qualification, that he fully understand and approve what we're driving at, and he won't try to change the plan. But we can't use that as an excuse to postpone. In other words, telling this. So when we decide, here's my decision. We're making decisions even up to here. My decision, who's going to hear my story, I don't waste any time. I've got my inventory in my hand, and I'm prepared for a long talk. And it's going to be a long talk, I guarantee you. I've got a guy, most of my guys will show up with 3 spiral notebooks full of resentments, fears, and conduct. And we go through every one of them. We don't skip one. Here's another qualification. We explain to our partner what we're about to do and why we have to do it. He should realize that we're engaged upon a life and death errand, and that's a promise. So most approached in that way will be honored. So our promises. I love this. This has happened to me over and over and over through the years. When I don't do this, I fall into sickness. Pocket our pride, go to it, eliminating every twist of character, dark cranny of the past. There's some things that I'm going to end up telling that I really don't want to. But once I've done that, and key words here, withholding nothing, then I'm delighted. If I withhold something, I come out of this and I don't feel complete, well, that's my fault. But this is one of the greatest promises in the book. I can look the world in the eye. For so long, I held my head down whenever I talked to other people. I couldn't look them in the eye. I couldn't wake up alone. You know, I needed someone with me all the time. But I can be alone now, perfect peace and ease. I drive a semi, and there are some days that I drive 10 hours. I don't even listen to the radio. I don't listen to a podcast. I don't do anything. I just sit quietly. I could have never done that before in my life. But look at this one. I hear this all the time, and I'm working on my fears. And you know, I'm going to get rid of that fear. Well, good luck with that, because the book tells me right here, I don't work on my fears. Hell, they fall from me. Wow, they fall. I'm going to begin to feel the nearness of my Creator. Now, I don't know about you, but man, that's something I had waited on for a long, long time. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs. Remember step 2, we came to believe, that's past tense. But now we're going to have an experience. There's a difference between a belief and an experience. And right here's where it happens. The feeling that the drink, the lust, the food, whatever that problem is, disappeared will often come strongly. My God, who would not want that? We feel that we're on the broad highway walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. Now, for me, that I only thought that meant while I was doing step 5. What I've come to learn through this work and through my years of studying this book is I'm going to have that sentence right there to walk through the rest of these steps, because there's some steps coming up that's fixing to emotionally tear me down. And I promise you, without the nearness of my Creator, walking hand in hand with Him, I will never make it through that work. I'll fall back every single time. I don't have the power. So walking hand in hand will be from now all the way to the very end. And I'll end with this. I say this all the time. The man that takes the first 5 steps is not the man that takes the last 7. Why? Because we're walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe, for one. But the other is now we have begun to have a spiritual experience. There is a transformation in the way that I was into the way that I am today. And I can tell you that is not the same man. You can ask anybody in my circle, my wife, my brothers, my sisters in recovery, they'll tell you he's not the way he was 2 years ago. I mean, I've grown through this process. I love it. Thanks.
Thank you, David. And I've got a couple things that you wrote down there that I'm going to come back to with a question with you on. But let's hear what Nikki's analysis of and experience, strength, and hope of these paragraphs are. Go ahead, Nikki.
Thank you so much, David and Justin. I need this. I've been here. It'll be 13 years coming up on, of course, Valentine's Day. Because hi, I'm Nikki. I'm a hardcore love addict, and that's when I walked in the room. So it's like I need this reminder every day. I forget. I fall asleep. So, I love, David went through this so eloquently, and there's not much more for me to go over, but I will go over my important parts that I have in my book, which is not only do I need to seek out a closed mouth, understanding friend, that's a description of how I need to walk through life. These are life instructions, everybody. People will say, that's for a 5th step, Nikki. And I'll say, this is a design for living. This is an instruction book for life. And Nikki loves to gossip and slander. That's part of my character defects that I learned in step 4. So I need to be a closed mouth, understanding friend. And as David said, my doctors and psychologists are not the people to go to. This was written a long time ago, and hey, everybody, it's 2025. And my doctor wants to write me a prescription. And I love this. I can't disclose anything to my most intimate people, my partners, my children, that will hurt them. We're going to read on page 102 that my only job is to be helpful. So if you're my sponsee and we get started right away, that's your measure. Nikki, I don't know what to do. Is this helpful? And it's a really radical yes or no. Like, if it's helpful, say it, do it. If it's not, that's where you get the gift of discernment. I used to think this was a cop out. Like, men who cheat, they don't have to go and tell their wives, you know what? I'm a woman and I don't want to know what my man has done. That will not only affect my mental well-being, it will affect my physical well-being. I won't be able to do things again with the person I love if I know certain things. So no, it's not helpful. Okay. I have no right to do anything. It's just no rights. And I love what David said, parts of our story we tell to somebody. Who's the somebody? We read at the top of this page, the properly appointed authority. The properly appointed authority who will understand and be unaffected. That means this person must be spiritually fit. I would go and run around to my mom who's untreated Al-Anon. I don't tell her anything anymore because she's not spiritually fit. How are you? I'm excellent, Mom. How are you? And that's not a lie. See, that's the truth. That is the truth. And I love what you said, David. And I always say there's not a lot of rules in this program. You don't have to come to the meeting that I go to. You don't have to sit next to me. You don't have to shave your head or become straight or gay. It says we must be hard on ourselves and line out. That doesn't mean self-loathing. I'm no good. I'm a piece of shit. No, I was wrong. I can do better. See, we're going to read again further on that we stand tall as God's people. I was wrong. I can do better. And I love this here too. A suitable person. There's many suitable persons. Again, we're in 2025. Go to a meeting. This is not 1940. You can find, if you are in the present moment, following these instructions, awake. Remember, conscious means painfully aware of what's going on. You will find a suitable person. And I love this. We talk to the right person. Again, the properly appointed authority. Recently, I talked to the wrong people about my relationship. And you know what? It was hysterical thinking. It was all this wrong suggestions. And I wound up really hurt making decisions based on self. So this is not just for a fifth step, everybody. It's important that you talk to the right person in all situations. And that, again, this is not only how my properly appointed authority should be, it's how Nikki M should be. I need to keep a confidence. We're going to read on page 125 that we do talk about each other, but we're to do it in a loving and tolerant spirit. Nikki doesn't do that. My sponsor just told me the other day, you judge and you force your opinions on everybody, Nikki. See, I can't see that. I'm talking to the right person because he understands and approves what I'm driving at. He's not going to change my plan. My girlfriends are going to go, no, Nikki, look what he did to you. You know what, Nikki, look what your neighbors did to you. You need to blah, blah, blah. No, they're not the right people. They're going to change my plans. They don't understand I'm on a life or death errand. And I love this. Use as mere excuses. Everybody, there's 2 books here. It's called the Big Book of Solutions, which is our big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, or the Big Book of Excuses. Now, I'm not into book burning, but I'm willing to burn your big book of excuses, which is so big no one can carry it around with them. Okay, it's too big even for David's big haul truck, whatever he carries. The big book of excuses is not enough. So when you decide who's to hear your story, when you decide when you have someone approach you, listen, be still and quiet, waste no time. That means we do this fast. I'm waiting to do my 5th step, Nikki. Hello, you waste no time. You do this fast. You have a written inventory, and here it is. You're prepared for a long talk. A long talk, sponsors out there, that's not 4 months. I know a sponsor who took a sponsee hostage for 18 hours. She wanted to jump in front of a subway. Don't do that. A long talk is 2 hours for me. You know, how long does it take? Again, life and death, Aaron. And you know what I love? It's an honor when people ask me to do a fifth step with them because, you know, I'm not a closed mouth, understanding friend. I'm a super freak who likes to tell everybody. I'm like Joan Rivers, tell everyone everything. It's not good. I have to get rid of my ego, pocket my pride, and illuminate, shine a light onto these twist of characters. And it took me 8 years to see this word, dark cranny. I have everybody right now, their fifth grade teacher, their, you know, their cousin Sally Sue that they haven't seen for 25 years that they accidentally said something in 1984 about dark. I have a big house. It's an old Victorian. It's 130 years old. I got a lot of crannies in my home, but I don't got a lot of dark crannies. So make sure you get to the dark stuff. And once you've taken this step withholding nothing, no half measures, I'm delighted. Yeah. And it's, you know, I had a fake confidence because I'm a retired burlesque entertainer. I could look everybody in the eyes, but it wasn't an honest stare. It wasn't an honest look. And I love this. Hi, I'm Nikki M. I'm a hardcore love addict. So to be at perfect peace and ease alone is a miracle. That is a miracle for a codependent. It's a miracle. And our fears fall from us. I love what David said. I hear that too. So we must be sponsoring the same people. I'm working on my fears. You're not working on anything but doing these steps all day, every day, person, and God will do the rest. And I love this. Certain spiritual beliefs, I have a spiritual experience. It's the preacher story. It's the preacher's walking down the church. He looks at the mom. In between the mom and the dad are 5 children. He says to the dad, "Are these all your children?" The dad looks over at the preacher and says, "I think so." Then he looks at the mom. "Are these all your babies?" The mom says, "I know so." I'm the dad at the beginning of these steps. I don't know if there's a God, but by step 5, I know there is a God. You guys have showed me this. And so my thinking problem, my acting out problem, my disease of self problem disappears. And I don't know how it works. This is a magic book. The book says I have a magic magnifying mind. And this is a broad highway and it gets very narrow. You know, I crossed out in my book, I crossed out spirit of the universe and just wrote power. Because at first all I wanted was power. Now I don't mind. I'm a spirit creature, but I need this power. Remember, I'm walking hand in hand. And later we're going to read, all you need to do is touch it. You don't need to be consumed with it. Just tappity tap tap. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. And that preacher story was great. I love that imagery. Thank you for sharing that. All right, quick questions for each of you. Let's start with David. David, you mentioned something that I wrote it down. I think I've got it pretty close to word. We don't see it, meaning the truth, until it comes off of the pen, and we don't hear the truth until it comes out of our own mouth. Dive into that just a little bit more in this step 5 process. What does that experience look like as you share it that way?
Yeah, thank you for that question. That comes from a brother of mine named Josh A. here in Oklahoma. He said that all the time. And, as I was writing inventory and doing a fifth step with him on different occasions, I really found that to be the truth, because if you're not asking the Spirit to show you the truth and help you to be able to voice that, then you're just doing it from self. You're just doing it through the mechanics of the big book. You're just kind of writing and going and saying, okay, I've done this and that. No, because that truth comes from within. And anytime that I write inventory, I've done the highness method of the big book and different processes of the work and the steps, but they all say that you need to start with the 3rd step prayer before you ever begin to write. If the phone rings, if you get a text message, if you have to go to the restroom, anything that disturbs or interrupts that, you need to come back to that 3rd step prayer before. And so my question was always, why? Why the hell did we do that? Well, remember, there was no amen at the end of step 3. So everything that we're doing, even up to this point, is to be done through prayer and action. And if we're not doing that, then we're just wasting ink, a paper and a whole lot of time, because the same thing that caused me to have to write inventory is now writing it for me. In other words, that's just coming out of my mind. So if I really want to see the truth come off the end of my pen, then I need to ask, and I say, Holy Spirit, I'm not apologetic for that, because that's what I believe. I ask the Holy Spirit within me to guide me, to direct my thinking, and to guide my pen. And so I never really have seen the truth until I really begin to do that. And I'm telling you, I've had some amazing revelations in the steps on many occasions. And the same way, whenever we do the fifth step, what I do was done with me, and what I do with the men that I've taken through this is we always begin on our knees, the third step, and anything that interrupts that during our fifth step process, we go back to that and do it again. And so, I'm asking and inviting God into that. We're already, God, ourselves, and another human being. But really, if you think closely about it, this is our first step out of isolation, not being able to trust anybody, by me really putting my confidence into another man and doing that from a God-centered place. Then really that's my first step out of isolation. In other words, this is my true walk out of Egypt. And so I just love this. I love your share. What you shared here today, Nikki, is powerful. There are things that you don't want to tell that will affect other people. I love what you said. There's things that I wouldn't do with my man if I knew. That's been my experience right here in this home. There are intimate things that we used to enjoy so much. They're gone. They're gone forever. And she told me they're gone forever. And it's okay. I brought that on myself, but I regret it. I really do. So there's things that we just don't do. And if there's something within me nudging me saying, don't say that, David, save this for somebody else, I damn well better listen. I don't need to think, okay, I'm in the middle of a fifth step, so I need to spill it all right here. Probably not a good idea. So anyway, this is just powerful truth. It is, and it's life-changing stuff. So thank you, Justin.
Yeah, thank you, David. I appreciate that. Nikki, my question kind of follows up with what David just mentioned there at the end of it. So often in today's world, especially with sex and love addiction, if I'm going to a therapist, they're going to say, hey, we need to do a therapeutic full disclosure, whatever, with your spouse, your significant other. Talk to me and talk to us a little bit more about the harms of that and why that may not be a great idea.
Well, I'm holding both of you, because I know the three of us have this issue, this sex and love and lust issue. And yeah, it's painful, it's just so painful. And so we have to follow the exact instructions. That's why I said page 102. We come in here and we do get a new job, and our job is to be helpful. And our book on page 53 says God is everything or God is nothing. That's why it can be pretty black and white for me. Like, if it's not helpful, don't say it or do it ever again, especially with that person. I found my people. I think that's part of it too. We have found our people. I can say, anything to you guys, especially you two, and you're going to go, me too. That's me. If I say that to my brother, to my sister, to my ex, they're not going to understand. Now, the promises do come true. God sent me a person who literally is just like me. So I can say a lot of things to the man I love. I mean, we joke about it. We're old, retired, sluts, and we laugh about it. So we both get it. But unfortunately, many do not. Those who do not understand. So what does this teach us? It really teaches us, again, right back to here, be a closed mouth, understanding friend. I love what David said. He can sit alone for 10 hours. I've driven across, well, not driven across. I've been on a train. I've driven across a lot of America, not the way you do, David. But there's just stretches of road, and to sit quietly. That is like nails on a chalkboard for people who have an obsessive mind like us. This is as I said it before, the most radical mindfulness course you will ever take. So we're going to read in the next few pages, Justin, why, and we're going to go over, we have no right to involve another person. It says, I used to think that was like just an excuse not to tell people something, but David is absolutely right. We can cause damage. And I've seen people do it. They listen to what their sponsor says. Go out and do this. Go out and do that. It's an insincere amends. It's not something that is from the spirit world. It's from the human world. And it's just not right. This is real radical. See, the word radical is in our book too. So stay, because God always discloses more. And I guess the bottom line is, for that, is it helpful? Really? Because you are me. I am you. Is this something you want to hear? Is this something that you would want the person you love to tell you? Because we have active minds. And I want my magic magnifying mind on good things, not on tragedy. And these details are tragic, right, Justin?
Yeah. And, I need to ask one more question and just throw it out to both of you and see what we say here, because I think this is something, it's super pertinent, at least for my world and the world of many people that I work with, that I sponsor and interact with. What if my spouse comes to me and says, hey, I want to know everything. You need to tell me everything about what's happened there. How do we respond honestly and lovingly in that situation to our spouse, and when this dumping this full disclosure is not helpful and is going to cause a lot more harm than good, especially in that situation? How do we approach that? David, and then Nikki, just real quick, your insights and personal experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had that experience here. My wife had asked me that question, when all of this took place about 5 years ago. And my response was very simple. Our book says that we talk about this in a general way. Now, I can go blow by blow, but I promise you it's going to damage you emotionally in a way that you're probably not going to recover from. And, if that's what you want, okay. But, my book tells me, and I'd like to honor that in a general way, we discuss the wildness that has taken place. And that's exactly what I did. We came to an agreement on that. We prayed before we did it. In a general way, I did. And, by God's grace, we've healed. We've healed from all of that all these years later. So that's my experience.
Thank you. Nikki, how about you?
Yeah, and with my sponsees, and David, thank you for that. And Justin, this is just really, as you said, it's pertinent to get through this. It says, rarely have we seen a person fail who is honest. And here's what it is. I tell my sponsees, and this is how I share. Honey, I was so arrogant. That's the reality. That's the honesty. Honey, I was so rude to you. What did you do, Nikki? What did you do? I envied and coveted everything. I was so selfish. I had to tell my sister an amends, and it was like, what do I do? Tell her all the things I did? No, I tell her, I was inconsiderate of you and your feelings constantly. I was hateful to you. Look at how I spoke with you. Look at how I treated you, honey. I was lazy in our relationship. I wasn't awake. I wasn't mindful of my words, my actions. That's all honest. You see, I was impatient. That is, in a general way, sharing, because that is the root of my trouble. It's not my actions that I did. So that's fully honest. That's full disclosure, is basically those things. Does that make sense?
It does, and thank you. And I'm going to share a little bit of my own experience as a sex addict living in recovery. My wife actually entered the Anon rooms years before I came into the 12-step rooms, because I was too proud and arrogant, and I'm not one of those guys, And anyways, when it came down to it, my wife said, "You know what? I don't want to know the details. It will cause way more harm than good." And I'm lucky, I'm blessed, I'm grateful for that. But she also knows, and it's kind of funny. So we were doing an interview with somebody here in the last month. I can't remember where it was, we together, and talking about our stories. And I shared something in that interview that afterwards she says, "I never knew that. And I'm glad I'm in a healthy place to hear that now." And I didn't even realize that I hadn't shared that with her before. It was just so much part of my story, but now it doesn't harm the relationship because we're both in a healthy place. So anyways, this has been a little bit atypical in this episode as we haven't done the takeaways here, but I think we're going to wrap this up at this point because we've done some deep dive into this. Everybody, is it helpful? Be considerate of others and hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others because they're worth it also. It's not just you that's worth it, this healing. They are worth it. They don't have to be destroyed in order to heal. And anyways, keep coming back. Come all the way in, sit all the way down. Work it. You are worth it.